Today on Recipe Reviver, we're making meatballs in a tomato sauce, but not the kind that you're thinking. Today's recipe comes to us from this 1911 little cookbook booklet of sorts that came from Gebhardt Chili Powder. So as you can imagine, every recipe in here features chili powder in some way. And today is no different as we're making Albóndigas Mexicanas. A couple things as I start here. The recipe calls for equal parts boiled beef and pork. So this is going to be a meatball that does not use raw meat as a lot of modern meatball recipes would call for. In fact, I would imagine this could be a way that you could use up leftovers that you have lying around in your kitchen in 1911. So I boiled some beef and I boiled some pork, and it was a half a pound of each to come up with 1 pound of meat total, and this is what I got. Now the recipe says to chop fine, and I could have done that. But just to give this a fighting chance of actually forming into some sort of meatball in a form that I would recognize a meatball, I ran my cooked meat through my meat grinder, and this is what I came up with. Now, it also asks for a soaked piece of bread, and so I have a piece of bread here, and I'm going to add some milk to it. Yeah, I could add water, but I'm going to use milk just to hopefully add a little bit extra flavor and depth here. And I'm going to let that soak. And after that's soaked, we're actually going to be wringing that out before we add it to our mixture. And before I forget, we're going to add some salt to our meat. And quite honestly, I think the best way to work this together is with my fingers, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, before we form these into meatballs, the recipe wants us to have some hard-boiled eggs, which I have, and we're supposed to put a piece of hard-boiled egg into each meatball when it's formed. So I'm thinking if I cut each of these into, like, maybe 8 parts, that would be adequate for the center of each meatball. Well, I'm going to attempt to make these into some sort of meatball. I've got my hard-boiled egg, and I'm going to shape some meat around that so that I get some semblance of a meatball here. Gonna be honest, it's not holding together real well, but I kind of foresaw that just by reading the recipe and seeing how dry everything was going to be. Well, here's what we ended up with. I've only got 7 meatballs here, and I say meatball loosely. It's a ball of meat, but it certainly isn't anything like any meatball I've ever seen, so I'm really anxious to see how this is going to turn out. The next step in our recipe is going to be to create the tomato sauce for our meatballs. And a lot of these old recipes from this time period don't give a whole lot for amounts. It's kind of more a method they're giving you. It does say to do 5 or 6 crushed tomatoes, though. I had 5 tomatoes here. I believe that the tomatoes in the grocery store today are bigger than what you would have pulled off of the vine in 1911. So I have 5 tomatoes here. It also says a little bit of onion. For that amount of tomatoes, I wanted to have a little bit more onion, so I have a full onion that's chopped up here. You can add or take away to your taste depending on what you like. But we're going to take a pan on the stove, melt some butter in it. We're going to put our tomatoes, our onions. I got some more chili powder. It did not say how much. I'm going to guess that I have maybe a tablespoon here, and put that in, as well as a little broth, some salt. And we're going to let that boil for a few moments before we add our meatballs. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have super high hopes for this. I think the meat is going to be a little on the bland side. I don't think I'm going to be in love with the egg in the middle. And I think it's going to be lacking a lot of seasoning, even though this is from a chili powder cookbook. In 1911, when they were using chili powder, it was minuscule amounts compared to today's taste. But we're going to give it a try and see how it is. What do I say? It's better than I thought it was going to be. The meat doesn't have much of a binder, even though there's the raw egg that was cooked in it. It's just falling apart. But it reads to me kind of as just a more tender meatball. Like if somebody had served this to me and not told me it was made with pre-cooked meats, I would have thought, oh, it's just a really tender meatball. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think it definitely needs more flavoring in especially the tomato sauce. But it does have a little bit of a mild chili flavor to it. I served this up over some rice. You do what you want. Let me know what you think in the comments. For a 1911 recipe, this is not bad. Would be pretty adventurous actually, probably for 1911 standards. Again, in the comments, let me know what you think. We'll see you next time on Recipe Reviver.